right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Words of Wealth presentation. We're doing a webinar today on the SBA update on application and funding during COVID-19 pandemic. And I just wanted to go through because we're getting asked a lot of questions on the options and what's out there. So I thought it would be helpful to everybody because a lot of people don't know what remedies are available to them. So I'm going to get started after Eric tells you how to participate in this seminar. So take it away, Eric.
Thank you, Janet. And if you can figure out how to update your name, right click on your picture. There should be an option there. Click on the little dots. It's not a big deal. We know you're not Tim Coons.
That's fine.
It's okay. All right.
Everybody
folks.
knows I am.
Good morning, good afternoon, welcome. I am here just as a technical liaison. I'm just going to explain a couple of quick things for you. Although you're probably quite experienced with Zoom today, it's become part of our lives. My kids are here. If they interrupt us, forgive me. They are on Zoom in their classrooms right now. And Zoom is a great tool, but it's sometimes things get in the way. So the first thing I like to recommend is that you make your screen as large as possible. You can do that by going up to the top right corner and you can hit the full screen. And then either that or you can double click on the presentation in front of you, and that sometimes does it as well. The next thing are, if you could go down to the bottom bar and can you find your digital raise hands and click it, please. Digitally raise your hands. Excellent. Okay. Well, they're definitely paying attention. That's great. Thank you very much. I will lower them now. Okay. Perfect. Okay. And then last, and this one's very important, we have chat and we have Q&A. What's the difference? Let's not even use chat if we can avoid it. If it's a quick comment or a hello or a thank you, that's a great place for chat. If you have a question, and I know you will, please put it in Q&A so that Janet can systematically go down and answer each question properly. So once again, use Q&A for all questions. We will not answer them as they come in, but we will definitely stop, take breaks, and get your answers back to you. It's all yours, Janet.
Okay, great. Let's get started. So if you'll just stick with me on the screen, we are going to go to our agenda. We're first going to discuss the current situation. Then we're going to go to actions and business decisions, programs available, scams and mistakes, how to survive, and a return to the new normal. After that, we're going to talk about accelerating when we actually get out of this. So one of the things that I do want to do is tell you that some of the slides I'm going to move through pretty quickly because the slides that we need to really dig into are going to take a few minutes to discuss. So let's start right now with the current situation. Let's go to the current situation. So the current situation everybody's pretty aware of. We're on a 30-day lockdown in the state of Florida. A lot of people are working from home. A lot of kids are doing school from home. We're all learning how to use Zoom and learning how to make this all happen. So one of the things that we're finding in our office is childcare issues because we are still at the office. We're all keeping our distance, but we're definitely having issues with the daycares being closed and people not wanting their kids to be around a lot of other kids to bring anything home. So that's one of the things that we're all dealing with. I'm not alone in that. So starting to get into how we're going to get through this, need to make some business decisions. So the first question I would have for everybody on board is, do you know how long your current cash will last? Because obviously a lot of businesses, some have come to zero cash in and some have just slowed down. Some major contracts have canceled. The sales backlog seems to no longer exist at this point. So the question is, how long can your cash last? And that's going to be a critical question when we start looking at how much money you're going to need and where you're going to get it from. So the next question I would have is, what are your fixed costs? Do you know how much, if you just send everybody home, you stop working, you just pull the plug on all of your business activities, how much will you have to pay every month? And then how much of your expenses depends on you making those sales? So can you make it 2 months on your current cash? Can you make it 6 months? That's all going to play into what we're going to talk about where to get the money from. So these are questions that you need to be able to answer. The other question that you'll need to answer is employee retention. Are you planning to keep your employees? Are you planning to let your employees go home? Do you have other tasks your employees could do? So for instance, maybe you've been wanting to paint the shop for 5 years, and maybe you have an opportunity to just clean everything out, organize it, and you'd be willing to pay your people to do it while your sales are low. So those are all questions that you're going to need to answer as we get into where you're going to get money from to do this. So let's, without any further ado, let's start with where are you going to find the money? Because I think every business is going to be down right now, whether it's because your customers can't afford to pay you, or whether your phone stopped ringing for some reason, or whether you're a person business and no one wants you in their home, or you can't have them in your store. So first thing we do is we want to look at who is your existing banking relationship. Every one of us has a bank account as a business. How well do you know your banker? Can you call them? Can you get a line of credit? Can you get some payment postponements? You know, what are the things that you can do just without even talking about these different programs? How can you put yourself in a better position? So that's the first question we want to ask is, can you postpone your payments 3 months? Now, one thing that we have seen is watch the documents that they're sending you. And this is very important because they're asking you to sign to postpone those payments 3 months in a lot of cases. And so far in one case, but I'm sure it will come up in others, now they're asking for a personal guarantee. So do not sign a document without understanding exactly what you're signing, because when business was good, banks didn't care whether you had a personal guarantee or not. But right now, this is a perfect opportunity for them to say, great, I'll give you 3 more months, but now you're not going to have to pay me as a business. You're also going to be on the hook personally. So if you're getting one of those documents, be very careful. The other thing you can do is you can apply for a line of credit with your existing banker. If you've had a great banking relationship with them, this would be a great time to do that. In general, you're probably not going to get a line of credit if you go in and say your financials aren't looking good for the next 6 months and can I have some money? So we definitely want to use existing banking relationships to do that. And then the other thing you can do is leverage your suppliers. I'll keep using you, but can I pay you in 60 days instead of 30 days? You know, my cash is probably going to be slow to come in. How is it that I can make us both work, because they want to sell to you as well. Everybody's in this together. So that's the first thing we're exploring is the existing banking relationships. Now let's start to get into what everybody really wants to know about. There's several different programs available and we're going to go through them one at a time. Florida Bridge Loan came out immediately when this whole situation started to unfold. And what they intended it to be was they intended it to be short term and then be repaid when the SBA loan funds. So we'll get to the SBA loan in a little bit, but the first thing that you have to understand is that this was never intended to be a long-term solution. It was intended to get cash out very quickly. So there are some criteria. You would have to be located in the state of Florida. Each state does have its own program. It's interest-free working capital, so you don't pay any interest on it unless you keep it a year or more. Catch with this one, it's $50,000 cap. So you generally aren't going to be able to get enough cash to get you very far into the year. Once you get to 1 year, it's 12% interest. So the zaps up pretty quickly. So if you can't pay 50 grand now, 12% interest is going to hurt in 12 months. They're only accepting applications through May 8th. So this is one of those, get on it now. And if you need the cash immediately, you would apply. Instructions to apply are at floridadisaster.org. And that's just like it sounds, floridadisaster.org. I'll tell you, we are working with a lot of people on getting their funding. And this is not my recommended path, but I did want to put it out here so you understood exactly what it was that we were talking about. So let's move beyond this one. In most cases, this is not the best option, but if you do need that, we're available to discuss through it why. So now let's get into 30 days ago, no one had ever heard the acronym EIDL. And all of a sudden, everybody's saying, what in the world is EIDL and how can it help me? So the EIDL stands for Economic Injury Disaster Loan. So this has a whole new set of rules to it. The EIDL, you can borrow up to $2 million per borrower. So that jumps that 50 grand up quite a bit. And the best part of this one is 1% interest. So that's a big change from the 12% interest on the Florida Bridge loan. The thing that everybody's talking about on the EIDL is that there's a $10,000 immediate grant. So you fill out the application, you send it in, and this is an SBA backed loan. So you send the application in, and what they have stated is that you will get the money in 3 days. I can assure you we have had applications in since the day this was released, and they have not seen the cash yet. So 3 days was an unlikely plan. Maybe once they get going, they will start getting it done in 3 days, but I haven't seen it happen yet. So let's talk about what you have to do to qualify for this. First of all, you have to demonstrate substantial economic injury. I don't think there's anyone out there that's not going to be able to do that at this point. You also have to be unable to meet necessary and normal operating expenses. The one thing that they will not do with this is they will not replace lost sales or revenue. So you can't just say, well, my sales are normally $100,000 a month and they're only $40,000 this month. You have to say, no, I can't pay my payroll, I can't pay my rent, I can't pay my mortgage, something. You have to have a reason for wanting it. So that's one thing about this loan. There's another catch. You must be in operation January 30th of 2020. Now, each of these programs have different dates. So the EIDL requires that you are in operation January 30th of 2020. You can also defer your payments 6 months. And then let's go back to that $10,000 grant. So let's talk about how this one actually works. It works that you fill out an application, and there's a streamlined SBA application for this. You fill it out, you send it in. In theory, they're going to send you $10,000, put it in your bank account. Once you get that $10,000, you will have the opportunity to do the full-blown SBA loan, which is going to be where the work is going to come into this. So if you need $1 million more, or maybe you just can demonstrate that you will have some serious loss, some serious economic injury, and $1 million would refinance a bunch of your debt at 1% interest. So that actually makes a lot of sense. But that's going to be step 2. And you don't have to do another, it's all the EIDL loans. So once you do the $10,000, you get the $10,000, you do not have to think for 1 second that you have to follow through with it. If you decide that you're good with the $10,000, you can stop. You can call it done, and you can say, I don't want to apply anymore, and you do not owe that $10,000 back. So that $10,000 is all yours, no strings attached, you walk away. So that's one of the good things that people have been talking about. Now let's talk about who can't get this loan. So there are a few reasons you would be disqualified. The first one is that you are more than 60 days delinquent on child support. The second one is that there are federal debt judgments without a repayment plan. So you can't have any type of federal debt, such as an SBA loan, without a payment plan. Then another one is federal tax liens of more than $10,000. So the key is they're allowing you to resolve federal tax liens of $10,000 or more. However, there's a gotcha with that because IRS collections is currently closed. So if you have a federal tax lien of more than $10,000, they're saying they'll allow you to resolve it. However, there is no resolution because collections is closed. So that's not going to be a huge help. The SBA is being incredibly lenient on credit history for these. And they're saying if you have a poor credit history, they're not going to guarantee that you will actually get the loan. But they are being lenient and they are not coming down on people with poor credit for this. They want to be able to get the money out there. Basically, the $10,000 is just saying, let's keep businesses in business. How can we do that? If we can make that happen, that's a good thing. So think that's pretty much everything on this loan. So now let's move to the one that everybody wants to know about. The next one that everybody wants to know about is the PPP. Once again, an acronym that nobody even knew 30 days ago. And all of a sudden, everybody's talking about a PPP, which is a Paycheck Protection Program. So this is for businesses with payrolls. Now I'm going to slow down and make sure that everybody understands this situation with this. So first of all, this is an SBA lending program, whereas the last one was directly through the SBA. This one is through your existing banking relationship. Now, they're saying that you had to be in business for the PPP on February 15th of 20. The EIDL, if you recall, you had to be in business January 30th of 2020. So there's a 2-week difference between when you had to be in business for these two opportunities for cash. Now the PPP is going to go directly through your bank because the SBA, all these acronyms, Small Business Administration, wants to know that you're a real business. So what they don't want is someone from Nigeria opening a bank account now and then trying to apply for these loans and getting real money that we're sending to someone that's not a legitimate business. So they said that these loans were going to open, I'm going to call them loans, we're going to go through it in a minute, April 3rd at midnight. Well, because we were counting on all of these banks to actually be ready April 3rd at midnight, most banks were not prepared because they had about 3 days to get ready to do these. So midnight, April 3rd, we actually had a team here ready to start doing loans and start filling these applications out. And we had all kinds of information, and lo and behold, nothing was available. So the first one I saw become available was Synovus Bank, that became available Friday at almost 7 p.m. The last one I have seen was SunTrust and BB&T became available yesterday at almost 8 p.m. Wells Fargo's also available now. Bank of America has changed. So, but over the weekend, a lot of these opened up their websites. No one's opening their doors right now. They open their websites, and you can now go ahead and fill out the information. So let's talk about what these are. So who can get this? First of all, you have to have fewer than 500 employees. Most of us, that's not a problem. It does include sole proprietorships, and we'll get to that. You cannot be in bankruptcy at the time of the application, and you could not have defaulted previously on an SBA loan. So the two questions right at the top of the application are, are you in bankruptcy, and if you ever defaulted on an SBA loan? And if those answers, either of them are yes, you can't do this. Now they have some other unlikely to approve. So first of all, if you have a previous felony conviction of any sort, if you're currently incarcerated, if you've ever had a crime involving a minor, and if you're a non-US company / operation, you have employees overseas, they're going to look hard at that. There are some kinds of companies that don't qualify. So if you own unimproved real estate, you can't use this loan. For instance, they are not going to let you use the loan to build a new building and use 1% financing to get that done. So that's not an option if you have unimproved real estate. Second is if you have illegal business activities. I'll leave your imagination to that one. You can't get this if you produce and distribute obscene material. Members of Congress can't get this, and organizations owned by a government agency can't get this. So, now that hopefully everybody has decided they can get this, how much can you get? So if you take your 2019 payroll and you divide it by 12 months, so let's use 120,000 for an easy number, divided by 12 months is 10,000 per month, then times 2.5. So you can get 2.5 times your monthly average payroll. The maximum you can get is $10 million. So that's a pretty big payroll if that's 2.5 months of payroll. This is 100% guaranteed, or government guaranteed. So the repayment is guaranteed. The lenders are open to this. So here's the catch. You can use, so let's say you're my example and you get 10,000 times 2.5, so you get $25,000. You can use that proceeds for payroll, health insurance, mortgage interest on your business building, rent on your business building, utility payments, and interest on debt incurred prior to February of 2020. So that means if you have a fleet of vehicles, you have equipment loans, you can use that money to pay for it. However, if you go back to the name of it, it's the Paycheck Protection Program. So you have to keep your employees to do this. So you can actually pay your employees for you need to pay your employees for 8 weeks. So you're going to pay 2 months of payroll with it. You need to maintain 75% of your payroll, and I'm going to get more in detail in that in 1 minute. So if you do this, and we're going to get into the details in 1 minute, if you do this, you will have 100% of the loan forgiven. So that's right. In the example that I told you, that $25,000 would be a gift and not a loan. However, when you get the money from the government, they're going to require you to sign a document that states you will repay it, because you have to meet this criteria of spending in order to determine whether the forgiveness will kick into place. So let's talk about how to get it forgiven. If you want 100% of the loan forgiven, stick with me here. You have to compare your payroll from February 15th to June 30th of 2020 to February 15th through June 30th of 2019. You have to have 75% of the full-time equivalent employees still on your books at the end of June 30th, 2020. So let's step back through that. So February 15th of 2019 through June 30th of 2019, let's say you had 5 full-time people and 2 part-time people. So you would have 6 full-time equivalents. Then we would come to February 15th of 2020, and we would go through June 30th of 2020, and we would say, okay, I'm allowed to have 75%. So in this case, I would have to have 5.5 full-time equivalents on my books in order to keep 100% of that money without having to pay it back. So in my example, let's say that equated to $20,000, but I still have $5,000 left. So in order to get that money forgiven, I could spend it on rents, I could spend it on mortgage interest, utility payments, or interest on debt. Now, just to make it even more fun, there is an option. Let's say you had a lot of people on your books February 15th through June 30th of 2019 because you had a big project. And all of a sudden you say, well, that's not fair because that was very specific to 2019. They have a provision that says, okay, if you don't want to use 2019, you can use January 1st of 2020 through February 29th of 2020 to compare to the February 15th of 2020 through June 30th of 2020. So I know that's a little confusing, but they're giving you a little bit more of a window that if your payroll was for some reason unusually high in 2019, there is a way to get around that, because ultimately they're trying to keep people working, because they know that if they're not working, they're going out on unemployment, and that's not the best answer. So they would rather give businesses money to keep people working than pay people to sit home on unemployment. So 100% forgiveness of the loan if you maintain 75% of your payroll. Then if you should not meet the 75%, then it's not 100% clear how much will be forgiven and how much will not. I don't know whether it will be all or none, and we're still waiting to hear that. But if it is not forgiven, there's a 10-year, in the legislation, there was a 10-year maximum loan maturity with a maximum interest of 4%. But on the March 31st, the Department of the Treasury said, forget it. You have a maximum loan maturity of 2 years plus interest of no more than 0.5%. So they reeled that in. In other words, if you're not planning to use the money and keep the people on the payroll, this is going to be a very quick, it's going to put you in trouble quickly, because that money will need to be repaid within 2 years instead of 10 years. There is going to be no prepayment penalty. And the other thing is that there's no personal or collateral guarantee, which is a big deal. So you don't have to do a personal guarantee on this money. Question we have been asked a lot is whether they will receive a 1099-C, which is a cancellation of debt, and that will actually be income to you. And the answer is yes, you will likely receive a 1099-C. However, they have said that that will not be taxable. So you will receive a Form 1099-C, but you will not be taxed on the forgiveness of debt income. So now this one is available through June 30th, but there's a big caveat on this. They have funded $350 billion to this, and they have made it very clear the funds are available until they run out. So my guess is if you actually look at the number of businesses in the US, it's not going to be a long time until those funds actually run out. So if you qualify for this, you need to get your application in, because it is definitely going to run out. The other important note on it is, if you remember, the EIDL had the $10,000 upfront payment. If you receive a $10,000 EIDL payment, you will have to reduce your PPP payment by the $10,000. You'll still get the same amount of money. It just will come in two pieces. But they're saying you can't double dip, you're going to get one or the other. So the reason you would want to apply for the EIDL if you qualify for the PPP, all these acronyms, is that you would want to have your name in line to get more money. So if the PPP is going to get you through, that's pretty much all you need. And we go back to the first slide when I talked about how much cash you're going to need. But if you need more money than the PPP, you want to do both the EIDL and the PPP, but just keep in mind that $10,000 will reduce your Paycheck Protection Program dollars that you receive. So the question is, let's see, I think I've covered most of that. So it's available through June 30th. Once the PPP money is funded, you will not be eligible for the $10,000 for the EIDL. So let's say you apply for the PPP first because you need payroll immediately. If you later decide to apply for the EIDL, you will qualify, you just won't qualify for that $10,000 grant. And the PPP, they have said, will fund quickly, but once again, we've not seen it come out, and it is a bank-by-bank application. So depending on who your bank is depending on who's going to control that. So, that's a lot quickly, but I think we've covered the Paycheck Protection Program. There is one more thing that I want to tell you about, is that opened April 3rd. Now, April 10th, it's going to open for independent contractors. So if you are a person who gets a 1099, it is almost the exact conditions as a business with payroll, but you are the only person that's making money in the business. Then this actually opens April 10th. So that'll be this Friday night at midnight. The systems will already be in place because they're already at the same banks. It's going to be determined by your net profit, and we'll use the 2019 profit to determine how much. So one catch with this one is you cannot receive unemployment and PPP at the same time. So if you apply for the 2.5 months of profit to go to yourself, you can't apply for unemployment. And as we all may be aware right now, if you apply for unemployment, there was legislation that stated that you would receive 8 weeks of additional unemployment. So the max in Florida is $275 per week. So let's say that you qualify for the max. There is an additional $600 per week for 8 weeks. So you can get $600 plus $275 per week. So you could get $875 per week on unemployment if you were self-employed or an independent contractor. However, that would knock you out of qualifying for the PPP grant program. The other thing I want to note is that if you have employees, whether you're self or you have other employees that are going out to qualify for unemployment, the state is not charging you for those unemployment claims. So in general, at the end of the year, you get an experience ratio, and you always hate it when someone went out and they applied for unemployment and then your rate went up. During this situation, the rates are not going up for unemployment. So that's a good thing that they have done. So I think we've covered the available funding. Now let's flip around a little bit to what's going to happen with scams. So already, yes.
Can I interrupt you real quick? We
Yes.
have a couple of questions that I think are applicable to that section.
Okay.
I heard you answer the second one right after, but maybe brush over it. Can you
Sure.
see the Q&A?
I can't see the questions there.
Click on Q&A down below there with the, you see it? No? Okay, I'll read it to you. Do you have to exhaust your lines of credit or savings accounts before you can use these loans?
Okay, let me answer that, because in a typical SBA situation, Before you can apply for SBA funding, let's say you want to buy a business or you want to grow your business, you have to exhaust all available credit. You have to pretty much show you've been denied everywhere else. In this case, you do not have to do that. So no, the answer is no, you do not even have to touch those.
Okay, great. That's wonderful. Second question, and you did answer this, but I'll read it all because I'm not sure you got to all parts of it or if it's restated. I have read where people are adding rent and utilities to this number to get a higher amount for the PPP. Is that correct?
So no, that's not correct. They might be adding it to it and thinking they're going to get more, but they're only going to get, the loan amount is only 2.5 months of average payroll. Can they pay rent and utilities out of it? Yes, but they absolutely will not get more than 2.5 months of payments. And let me just pause here for 1 second and tell a little bit of a story about how we got to know all this. About 3 weeks ago, most of you know, Tim, my husband, and I were sitting on the back of the boat, and we were just talking about how we could help our clients because we said everybody's going to be in a cash crunch. So we actually went to a banker that we have a great relationship with, and we said, okay, great. Our clients are going to need cash. What do we need to do? How can we get a streamlined loan process for them? This was before PPP and EIDL ever came to be. And we said, can we help our clients get them in the right place? He said, I would love that, Janet, if you would just give me the financials so I know they've been looked at by a CPA. I will fast track these lines of credit through so that people have money available to them. Well, within 7 days, everything kind of came to a screeching halt and everybody started staying home and businesses started closing their doors. And all of a sudden, we were in a situation where we had marketed like crazy for these 1%, where these lines of credit to help get our customers in the right place. And we called it disaster proofing your business because we wanted to help. And everybody had emails from us about how to disaster proof your business. So all of a sudden our phone went crazy. So we have been in on this since the beginning. Both myself, Tim, and then also Andrea have been doing webinars on it. I feel like we are very up to date on the momentary changes in this situation. Last night I was sitting home. It was 8 o'clock at night. I saw SunTrust and BB&T release. Tim and I sat there, got these done. So like, I feel like we are very, very well versed on what's going on in this. We put ourselves there by accident, but it's worked out pretty well. Any other questions, Eric?
One just came in, and let me just, as a reminder, let everybody know, if you have a question so that you don't lose it, or I know you have to focus on Janet because the information she's delivering is incredible and very detailed. I work with CPAs on a regular basis, and I go from one to the next of these, and I just keep learning more and more. And Janet, this has been fantastic. Folks, if you have a question, put it in Q&A. And we will stop periodically, or worst case at the end, and we will address all of your questions. Okay, so we have 2 new ones. Where online do we apply for the EIDL, and when can we start the application process?
Perfect question. The EIDL is at the SBA website. So if you just Google SBA EIDL application, it will come up.
Okay.
We'll put our website.
And you can go, we'll add a bunch of links to the disaster proof page.
Okay.
So it's cpaoflorida.com /
disaster proof.
Disaster dash proof, right?
No, it's just disaster proof.
Just disaster proof. Okay.
No dash.
Okay.
And
So
the other thing that I will mention on that is that we are also handling this because there's a lot of opportunity to get this wrong and not get the funding you need. So it's not enough to just submit your application. They're going to come back to you and want projections. And if you get this wrong, you could not get enough money to keep your business afloat. So very important that you have the right tools available to you as you get through this.
So I just put that link in chat.
Okay.
If you want to go and click on it, folks, you can go directly to that page, and we'll keep updating that page over time with more information, including where you can watch this presentation again. Because I'm
Eric,
going to
any
watch it again.
other questions?
Yeah, we do. They just keep coming.
Okay, so
Wow.
let me do this. I have only like 2 more slides. Let's
Okay.
get through that, and then I will just
Sounds good.
devote as much time as anybody wants to answering questions. How about that?
I think it's a great idea. Let's do it.
Okay, so I just wanted to point out that I saw some great material on all the scams that are already out there. So first of all, phishing scams, we're all familiar with those. Well, there's emails now from the CDC or the World Health Organization, WHO, that contain malicious links or dangerous attachments. So make sure you're going directly to the website. If you see something you want to learn more about, don't click on those links. Don't open the attachments. Bad plan. The other, well, I'm going to go down a list. Charity scams, donations to fake charities. There are all sorts of fake charities out there right now. And the new legislation did allow for $300 donated to a charity that will be able to be written off even if you don't itemize on your taxes. Not a big deal. I don't know why they went to that bother to pass it for a $300 deduction, but they did. So donations to fake charities, stimulus check scams. The stimulus checks have not been mailed yet. They're not going to ask for any information from you. They're not going to call you. They're not going to do anything. It will just arrive in your mailbox. Emails requesting personal information to get a stimulus check. Don't need to do that. If you filed a tax return, you're going to get one unless you phase out for income. Phone call scams, posing as your banker to verify account information. If someone knows that you bank at Bank of America and they call and say, hey, I'm from Bank of America and I just need this and this and this from you, probably not true. Unless you know the banker, don't give that information out. And fake coronavirus maps. So there's a lot of emails sending out with fake coronavirus maps that you're going to click on, and it's going to put spyware on your computer that would steal your username, your password, or other data from your browser. So a lot of scammers out there already looking to get this information from you, and they are using stimulus checks to leverage gathering personal data and then using the information that they get to do all kinds of other crimes. So huge opportunity for people to have their identity compromised in this situation. So Eric, let's go back to questions, because basically I'm ready to just tell everybody we're going to do a podcast on the details of the scams and mistakes. And then let's go back to the questions.
Well, and I hate to put you on the spot, but would now be a good time to say that we should do another one of these, because in about a week's time, I'm guessing everything's going to be different. So
it probably is. So.
Yeah. So folks, keep that in mind, and we will be alerting you to future webinars and podcasts like this. Okay, another question. Oh, this one's got to be brutal. Half of my tenants cannot pay. Would you say EIDL would be the best for landlord?
Absolutely, 100%, because the PPP is based on you having some sort of payroll. So EIDL, the bad thing is if you can't qualify for that, the big money, the big gifts are in the PPP. So let's think about that. Any business, 2.5 months of payroll, that's huge. But if they can't pay, the EIDL is at least going to give you 10 grand that you're going to not have to repay. So yes. And the other thing in that situation is if we can do a good job of forecasting the downturn, you're going to get some extra cash and you're going to be able to use it at 1%. That's cheaper money. That's cheaper than inflation is going to be, I assure you. So you're actually getting negative value money. So you're going to win on that.
So the next one I can answer myself. It says, Janet, I need your help. So go over to the chat and you can see where I put the link. Click on the link to disaster proof and just follow the instructions, and you can do our little pre-application, and it will get you into the system so that Janet will contact you and do whatever it is you need. Okay, and then we have another question that is related to a client matter, so I'm going to keep it relatively I'm going to just ask the question, is there anything else I need to do? I think the answer to that is we're going to reach out to you, and I'll make a note of this one in particular for you, Janet.
Okay, perfect.
So if you're already a client, know that your account is being handled.
Okay, so let's be very careful with what you said, Eric. So if you're already, so we're offering that we will manage these applications all the way through, because some people are afraid that they won't get them right, or they won't be able to get the right amount of money, and they don't want to lose an opportunity to keep their business in business and keep their employees working. So we do have a separate engagement letter for this, and we're available. We are charging $2,500 for the process. It will take care of the EIDL, and actually we can't charge for the PPP. It's a funny rule, but we can charge for the EIDL, and we will see that all the way through for you. And that is from beginning to funding. So it's not just filling out the shell of an application, because people are saying, well, it's so simple. No, it's not so simple. And you need to know, you need to go back to that first slide and figure out how much money you really need. And that's what we're here to make sure you get enough money that your business stays in business. So we are offering that service, but it's not to every client. It's to clients that have said they need help.
And Janet, let's say one of the clients is not a full circle business services client, and their books are not necessarily in great order. You have services for that as well?
We do, right. That's separate though. That's not, we can't get your books up to speed and do the application for that fee. There would be a separate amount to get you current and up to date.
Okay, we have, here they come, more awesome. That's good. I have 4 employees. If I include myself, am I counted as one? So would I need 3 full-timers?
Excellent question. So you would be counted, and your payroll would be included in the calculation. The one thing that I probably didn't mention is there's a $100,000 cap. So if one of your employees, any of your employees make more than $100,000, the calculation will be capped at that person making $100,000. So if you have 4 plus yourself, you have 5, you use your average payroll. But if there was someone making more than $100,000 in there, you would have to back out that amount, the amount over 100,000.
I think we also want to address the tail end of the question says, so I would need at least 3 full-timers after 6:30. I'm thinking that's for the forgiveness.
No, go ahead, Eric, finish it.
I think that's for the forgiveness aspect. Maybe you're asking.
So be very clear. It's February 15th of 19 through June 30th of 19 compared to February 15th of 20 over through June 30th of 20. So let's say that you let all your people go for the month of March. Now all of a sudden, April, May, June, you've got to do some serious hiring because you've got to make those numbers work. So that's a case-by-case calculation. But yes, you would need to have that many effective full-time people for the period February 15, 20 through June 30th of 20. Not to say you can't send them all for 2 weeks home or even for 4 weeks home, but you still have to meet that number. Basically, you have to pay the same amount of payroll in 20, well, 75% of the payroll in 20 that you paid in 19. Does that clear it up?
I think you covered it well. Thank you. And this one is going to add to that. We just purchased a business after the PPP date. Can we use the payroll from prior owner?
My immediate answer would be no. Because
this was established, there's some provisions.
We would have to. So that's a question that I don't know the answer to, but I do know that the specific provision says you had to be in business for the PPP February 15 of 20. So was the entity formed February 15th of 20 would be my question, because if it was, then I would say yes, no problem. But then if you bought it after February 15th of 20, we would have to just dig into the rules a little bit.
Okay, I just made a note to you.
And I want to make one more comment. The PPP, if you own more than one business, you can only do one PPP. However,
we have not been able to find anywhere that you can't do as many EIDLs as you have businesses. So let's say you have 5 companies. We have not been able to find where you can't get those $5,000, $10,000 grants, one for each company. So as far as we're concerned, and we're submitting 5. And just so everybody, we are charging for these, but we're doing the first one at the $2,500, and if you get the others, we will get paid. But the rest are under common ownership, we're doing at our risk, not at yours, because we understand cash is tight and we don't want to ask for that.
So we should probably also mention that there's 2 options.
Yes.
To pay. They can pay lump sum of $2,500 or in payments, which is
Of
great.
$250 per month for 12 months, correct?
That's great.
Because we do know that businesses are very cash tight right now. And I mean, we are selfishly trying to keep our employees working, and we don't have any problem with that today with tax season, but we're willing to take on some work for later in the year, which is when all these documents will have to be created and submitted, et cetera, because we want to help our employees keep working. We're here to keep everybody, give them their jobs. That we're the same boat as everybody else.
So I think you answered this, but just out of respect, I'll ask the question: what happens if we do not get funded? Do we still pay the $2,500?
You do. Yeah, that's so in our opinion, you're going to get funded. You're going to get at least 10 grand if we file for the EIDL. Now, once again, this is a government program. So I don't have the money. I can't make the decisions on the money, but I can tell you what it says. So yes, it is a fee because we do have time in it to get it done.
Okay, they just keep coming. We're going to stay here and get through all of these, folks. I am a licensed real estate assistant being paid as an independent contractor. My current pay is high because of the season. What months should I use to come up with the average? 2019?
2019. It's clear in the guidance, 2019.
Perfect. As a company, do I need to have full-time personnel? I only have part-time employees.
Doesn't matter. It's full-time equivalents. So if you take all of your people and this one works 30 hours a week and this one works 20 hours a week and you add them all up and then you divide them by 40, that's the number of 36. Okay, that's the number of full-time equivalents you have. So no, it doesn't matter if they're all part-time, to answer your question.
Where were we? My husband has an LLC and just started payroll in November 2019 for only himself. Is PPP best for him?
It depends on, so in that case, I might think, I would have to do the calculations. I might think the 10,000 in the EIDL would be more than the PPP program, but that would be a great conversation where we could put some numbers to it.
We will be able to respond to those of you that need a bit more information in person. We'll have a list. So we'll go through these questions again and make sure that if there's any follow-up we need to do, we get it out to them. Okay, Janet, can you give me any time frame for the funding? That's the hardest one.
Yeah, so the EIDL, the SBA has stated it will be in your bank account within 3 days. I don't believe a word they're saying.
Well, it didn't work for me.
Right, so we've not seen any fund. It's only been 2 weeks. So I have heard that some funding went out Friday. So my guess is if you apply in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it will be 3 days out, but today it's not.
So just by applying, you wake up in the morning and there's 10,000 in your bank account.
Correct.
Wow. How will the funds appear? Paper check come through?
They have to go into your bank account. So when you submit both of these applications, you have to give them your routing number and bank account number. It will all be electronic. But you have to give them your bank account and your routing number, and it will go right into your bank account. They don't want these checks in the mail. They won't allow them to be in the mail. It won't happen.
Okay, and I thought we were at the end and we got more. Okay, my business is a mix of IC and a few employees.
Independent contractors, okay?
Yeah, what should we do for the IC? Should we be directing them to apply for PPP also?
That's correct. So the independent contractors should apply for PPP, and that's going to open this Friday night at midnight for them. So they can absolutely get 2.5 months of their average income. And it is based on profit, not sales. So if they're writing off a lot against it, they're going to not have much available to get on the PPP. They might be better on the EIDL. So once again, got to put paper and pencil to the numbers.
So this is another client who's saying, we have you handling this. What bank are you using?
Okay, so we're using Synovus Bank for all of the ones that we've done. And Synovus has actually told us that they are not requiring you to have been banking with them since February 15th. But we have also gone to every client's bank that they are working with. Many of our clients, we already have the bank logins, and we were able to just go in, sitting at home at night, boom, get it all done for everybody. So our clients that are engaged with us, the minute their bank released, we had the application in. We were on top of it.
I have the same question as this next client. Is JP Morgan Chase online?
Chase Bank is, but JP Morgan Chase.
It's the same. That's the same.
Chase is gonna do it. They might be one of them that said no.
Right, I don't know the answer to that. I'll find out. I thought
Yeah,
it was
'cause-
one through Chase.
No.
Okay, Chase, but we do have, so Synovus Bank has agreed to do the PPP loans for newly engaged clients to them. They don't have to be there since February 15th, going through our connections. So that's how we've got some of these filed.
So this one says, how do I get started? Click the link in chat or go to cpaoflorida.com/disaster proof. That's
Just
how
go
you
to
get started.
Go to cpaflorida.com/disasterproof and we will take it from there.
And then they had a second follow-on question to the first. What about Suncoast Credit Union?
So Suncoast Credit Union is accepting it, and I have already logged into their website, and I'm on top of Suncoast Credit Union.
So I'm going to read a question to you, then I'm going to go search for Chase emails and see if I can find out anything on that
Okay.
one. The next question is getting away from me here. Have you gotten any information from Fifth Third Bank?
Fifth Third, we've already been working with, yes. Fifth Third is going to offer it.
Chase wants to help you get the SBA PPP emergency funds you may need. We're awaiting guidance.
Yeah, a lot of the
will help
banks
you.
are saying that. We're waiting for guidance.
Yeah, it looks like they're gonna jump right on this.
So what I honestly believe is happening, if you want my opinion, is that the banks have started to open their portals and have begun to accept documents, but the SBA has not completely released the backside of it yet. So I believe most of the banks have got their systems down now, and they're waiting for the SBA to open the floodgates. And so some of the banks are saying until the SBA opens the floodgates, we're not going to do it. But they've all been releasing over the last 4 days.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see, where are we? What about PNC? I think you said that one already.
Janet, while you're waiting that, maybe we should consider a company that has several independent contractors, because they're going to have a lot of commonality. Maybe we'll do one fee for everybody in that company.
Yeah,
and cut a deal, because they're going to be struggling, but we'll work. We're not trying to make a ton of money on this. We're just trying to keep our doors open and our people paid through this period.
All right, good. Well, if I can be of assistance, just reach out to me. I'm here to help as always.